Hello, I'm Robert Van Rissingham with Western Environmental Services and Naturally Noble. What we're going to talk about today is maximum strength and delivery of minerals through the plant. This is critical because we believe, and there's plenty of evidence, that most symptoms are deficiencies of minerals in our body. It's out of the dust of the earth that we were formed, and we need to replenish our bodies with those minerals of the earth through our plants continually through our lifetime. What I'd like for you to do right now is to identify the mineral deficiencies that you have currently in your body. And you can do this by easily going to Google, doing a Google search, and put mineral deficiencies associated with whatever condition you have. If it's diabetes, hair loss, acne, MS, cancers, any symptom that you have right now of a deficiency, just Google it, take the time, and pause the video and come back and we'll walk through this. Hopefully you went through the exercise of the deficiencies. Keep in mind that a mineral deficiency, say if it was a zinc deficiency and your symptom was depression, zinc can also have many other beneficial effects, or deficiencies will show up as symptoms. Even stinky feet is a zinc deficiency. Specks on your fingernails are zinc deficiencies. Depression. There's many different chemical activities associated with each one of these minerals that we're going to talk about today. Keep in mind too that your loved ones, kids that raised up in your family, or your spouse that you've lived with for 20-30 years, can have the same deficiencies. We're all eating at the same plate in a household. We get used to the same menus, and if we're buying the same products time and time again, we can see these deficiencies. Sometimes the deficiency is caused by exposure to drugs. It's a side effect of drugs. If you're taking a Prilosec, your ability to form B12 is inhibited, and there are 11 other minerals that are well documented that absorbability has everything to do with the B12 levels within your system. With that said, let's talk about what we can do right now to address these deficiencies. On the Dr. James Duke database, we took the database and this is on a .gov site. Dr. James Duke, amazing research that he did over his 40 years with the USDA. But he identified the different compounds that plants make. We're only going to focus on the minerals and the chemical activities of these minerals. There are 23 of them that they've identified. There are 200 and some symptoms associated with these mineral deficiencies. It'll even go so far as anti-tumor, breast tumors, brain tumors, esophageal tumors, and it'll tell which minerals are associated with it. And so on this chart here, we have the different products. We also have in our garden soils our base products and what minerals were added from the Thaler Evans Ranch to address their calving operation, and we use a compost from that product. And then also in our food products, what minerals you'll find in the different food products if you don't grow your garden. So we'll talk about now maximizing food strength and mineral strength in the plants. Now, the Dr. James Duke database will tell you which minerals and which plant uptake that minerals at different levels, and we use that. We give this book with the Master Gardener set, and also we sell it on our website. It also has how these minerals work in our body. Dr. Ulry's work is in this book, and talking about how iodine has different, how it's used within our body, what's the right valence for it. We also address the valences in our soils just to ensure that we're not delivering something toxic to the body. It's a great reference book. Strongly recommend this book. It's what we use to formulate and to develop different products. Even if he's 10% right, it's a home run. But we've seen his work has been just absolutely beneficial to the quality and the outcomes that we're seeing in different conditions in people that are using our products. Another great book, Trace Elements in Soils and Plants. The Dr. James Duke database uses an ash weight analysis, which are much higher than a dried weight analysis because they've ashed it. All of our lab analyticals are based upon a dried weight. So when you look at our products on Heaven's Hope Nutritional products or Naturally Noble and our food products, you're seeing parts per billion or parts per million, depending upon the value. And we can now compare it to standard means testing of foods from around the world, but more importantly, foods that we're seeing in our grocery stores. They're running the averages, and they present them in a fresh weight, a dried weight, and an ash weight. And we're now allowed ourselves to take that data and compare it to our work. And when we compare our work to known data, like the Dr. James Duke, when I talked to Dr. James Duke, I had a chance to meet with him at his home in Maryland. I'd asked him, when you give a range of mineral uptake in a plant, what was significant of the soil? And he said the soil was wherever the plant grew, which is important because it tells me that we're only measuring the soils that the plants were exposed to, not the maximum loading capacity of the plant, if that makes sense. The maximum loading capacity of the plant is what God created for that plant to deliver to us. Through erosion and through time and not putting these minerals back into the soil, our plants are not delivering the healing capability or the minerals to prevent illnesses and symptoms. What's critical on the delivery of these minerals through a plant, if you looked at the deficiencies that you have, going to a supplement store and buying a mineral supplement is not food. They're chemical compounds that our bodies may not recognize as food, so we have absorbability issues. Our bodies may not be able to break it down small enough to manufacture amino acids, DNA, from that compound. When we look at what God created in a plant, it's from the dust of the earth that we were formed, and we have to replenish our minerals. Dr. Ulry's book discusses that every 7 years, every cell in our body is changed over. So we need to bring these minerals back into our bodies to rebuild new cells, but it takes the dust of the earth, and the plant's that delivery system for it. For a plant to take up a particle size, it has to be between 10 times the size of an atom to 100 times the size of the atom. That's the window for plant uptake or plant absorbability. That's why when you do soil samples, it's meaningless, because you're dissolving minerals in the soil with acids that a plant isn't capable of dissolving. So when we look at mineral uptake, it's critical that we're looking at the plant tissue testing and seeing what we're delivering. If you're putting anything else in your garden, if you put anything in your garden, the capability now for garden products to do before and after testing to show absorbability, to show heavy metal contamination that might come from that product, that is all available to any producer of products for gardens. We test all of our products before we put it on the market. We've had to start over a number of times to ensure that the heavy metal contamination was at a minimum. And we're quite pleased with our products and quite pleased with the lab that we use. We use Activation Labs up in Canada, certified testing, third-party analysis, and absolutely beneficial to seeing an outcome from a product. So when we talked to Dr. James Duke, they said the minerals were where the soil, where the plants grew. So when he's talking of a range that a plant will take up chromium between a certain low range and a high range, it's only what those plants were exposed to in the testing that they were sampling. We now know that we can test a plant and deliver these minerals into the soil to see a maximum loading capacity of the plant. The maximum loading capacity of the plant is a maximum strength that plant can give you to heal. So if we know on boron that the levels, and we have the numbers here too, and boron were 430,000 parts per billion that we're seeing as a maximum plant uptake. What we're seeing in our foods is 1,300 parts per billion. So we're only at 1% loading capacity in the foods that we're buying in the grocery store based upon this lab, the lab work that's reported in this book. Cobalt, we're at 3% of the maximum loading capacity that we're, once again, when I talk about these percentages, it's a maximum loading capacity that the plant's capable of delivering. The 3% is what you're getting at the grocery store. Copper, 56%, iron, 32%, lithium, 1%, manganese, 24%, molybdenum, 1%, selenium, 7%, vanadium, 1%, and zinc, 45%. When we look at how people have changed over the last 30 years and seeing these deficiencies, well, even over the last 100 years, because I'm not the same man that my grandfather was. Our brain capacity, our SAT scores, everything has went down because of our foods aren't delivering the strength that we need to be at a higher level of brain capacity. When we look at cobalt, studies have been done where they took hair samples of the most violent criminals in Chicago, and they've seen a correlation between violent tendencies and cobalt deficiencies. We also know spina bifida, that deficiency is associated with the cobalt deficiency, or that symptom is associated with the cobalt deficiency. Boron is critical for brain function. Also prostate health. Lithium, we're seeing so many people with thyroid problems, hyperthyroid. There's 8 different minerals activities or chemical activities associated with lithium. An antidepressant, hyperthyroid, anti-manic, anti-schizophrenic, just so many things that we know through existing databases that these minerals have a beneficial effect, and we're we're running at such a bare minimum in our food system that we need to step this up. And that's what our products are designed for. And with that, I would love for you to look at our work. WesternEnvironmentalServices.com is soil solutions products, and then naturallynoble.com is our food products. We recommend that you grow your own gardens. Never rely on a capitalistic system to give you nutrition without paying for it. The farmers that bring their products to market, they're already working at a minimum profitability, and their survival is based upon how cheap they can bring things to market. We strongly recommend you take charge of your health, take charge of your family's health, and ensure that these minerals are delivered to your table through good quality foods, even if you have to grow it yourself. You can find our information on Heaven's Hope Nutritional Products. We have a blog there, Tips from the Garden. You'll find this chart, you'll find a PowerPoint, and you'll find other great information on that site. You have a great day.